I'll turn my microphone on now. This is Commissioner Status Update. It is May 16, 2023. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks, Matari, and Duncan. Are there any changes to the agenda? And
Nope.
Hearing none. Our first item is Panhandle Health District Board of Health Representatives. So I think back in January, when we were talking about different liaisons, Bill, you had mentioned at that time that you might be interested in serving on the board. Then last week, we thought that that was the case as well. You indicated you wanted to do that, so, but now you've changed.
My understanding was last week when we were talking about it, was that you had reached out to the people involved and none of them had bothered to respond.
Okay, so no, I was coming to the board to say, would we like to open it up to the public? Would we like to,
Oh, okay.
you know, how do we want to handle the appointment?
So I
And-
misunderstood,
Okay.
and I apologize. That's all my fault.
So what is your,
Right now, I mean, Dr. McClanders, who's on there, has done a great job. He's really walked the line as far as not going extreme on the masks and the mandate and all that, and I appreciate that.
did he vote for the mask mandate?
I think I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I know that he said that is not the way to handle these things, and that he prefers that those kind of things be left up to the individual to make their own decisions. And I like that.
Well, I actually spoke to him a little bit, and he, I think, was, like a lot of people at that point in time, caught up with the hyperbole and what was going on. And he seems to have reflected a lot on what's happened since. One of the things that I had expressed to him was that anyone who's in these kinds of positions should not be agreeing strictly with one perspective, but that they should also seek guidance and thoughts from people like ourselves on these kinds of boards who answer to the community at large, because they are unelected boards and we are elected. And so our perspective is always going to be different that way. He seemed to agree to that. The problem with these things is that they come along once every 100 years, it seems like. That's at least the track record that's coming into focus. We don't know what's coming down the road in the future. And we always hope that we have people who are prudent and don't fall victim to, the hysteria at the moment that can actually put the brakes on it. I don't know how many people there are out there who actually like that. We didn't really see many the last couple of years. In fact, it seemed to be the norm that people got caught up with the hysteria. But as far as this board goes, we should always make sure that we have the right people on there. And if it is time for that position to be looked at, we should get people to apply for it and hear different perspectives and make a decision. I thought my conversation with the doctor the other day was, it was encouraging, to say the least.
Sure.
So,
We, with a lot of long-standing positions, since I've been here, we've opened it up, and sometimes we, find people who might be a better fit, and sometimes we don't. So on this one, I would be willing to open it up to the community like we did before, unless you really would like that position. So.
No, and I don't think we need to open it up to anybody. We've got if anybody would call Dr. McClanders hysterical, they obviously don't know him or haven't spoken to him.
you're not suggesting I'm calling him hysterical, are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just the worst use of that word. He's anything but. It's pretty.
No, I understand. And him and I had a good conversation about some of the things that happened, some of the things that concerned me greatly. In my opinion, I felt that the legal definition for quarantine was redefined in that era. That was something that no one should be doing, no matter what perspective they have on any issue, for that matter. But I do think it's good every once in a while to rotate. And so I'm open with the idea of having people apply for the position and at least revisiting it. It doesn't mean that he would be excluded. It just means that we should always investigate options.
All right, so Jonathan, you have direction. Thank you. Okay, item 2, assessor update. And with us today is our Chief Deputy Assessor, Ben Crowdinger.
Morning, Commissioners. Ben Crowdinger, Chief Deputy Assessor for the record. So following the discussion that we had, I believe it was last week, we ended up meeting with Commissioner Matari. I think that was a very good conversation. I apologize, my voice is gruff, I'm coughing a lot. But we had a fairly good conversation. We talked about kind of what, we would like to do in the future, and I think we have no problem with kind of, meeting with our liaison whenever needed. And if you have any questions about kind of what's going on with XTR at the moment, please feel free. I can, field anything you might want to know or need to know about it.
Okay. And then probably just, a lot of deadlines coming up and stuff. So I'm always curious to see how you guys are doing with deadlines.
Yeah, no problem. Obviously right now, the goal is always meeting our statutory deadlines. I don't see any issues with any of those. I think more than anything, if we're talking about kind of XTR, they've just been helping out really with House Bill 292 changes because, as I think people have heard about so many times, up to now, our system is a little bit different. Things don't quite work out of the boxes, they might be intended to. So, what they had been working on was ensuring that the scripts that the State Tax Commission had been making for us actually work in our system. I would say that, and the treasurer obviously is not here to speak about it, but I think a lot of the real work ends up probably falling on the treasurer's side more than our side for House Bill 292. But at the same time, it is the same system. Momentum, they're using it, we're using it. So anything that happens to it will affect, both parties. But I think the main reason why, we had XTR working on this was because, it was really the fear of the failure of any of these changes. And, and those are due to, the median going up, that's one of them, the median value that's covered. And then on top of that too, that would be, there's a lot of changes. There's a new role that's coming with it. So that's another thing, that we want to make sure that would work for us. It's a lot of those things. So we're really trying to get out in front of it and try to deal with these things as early as possible rather than, this, statutory deadline of this is, fourth Monday in August, it's 2 weeks before. We haven't tested this. We haven't seen if this has worked or not. We're just really trying to run these things up as early as possible. So.
Okay. Bill, questions?
No.
Now, the big reason why we're here is just, we want to make sure that we understand that, given what happened last year, with just missing some of the statutory deadlines, we really want to try to make sure that we can avoid that. And typically, by having these meetings beforehand, and trying to dissect what's coming down the road and thinking about even the unexpected issues could help us, make sure that we meet the deadlines like we need to. Because so many other departments are reliant upon the assessor's office hitting their deadlines.
Yeah, very much so.
And so that's the main reason for these kinds of meetings is just to have a weekly update, make sure that we are on track to meeting the deadlines so that the other departments can have a high expectation that the information that they need from the assessor's office will be complete and within the time frame so that they can do their jobs. And so you mentioned that you don't see any issues with your next deadline. When is that for a deliverable, would you say, for the assessor's office?
Yeah, so if you want to know kind of where we are right now, so we build the cadastre up.
I meant the assessor. I'm sorry, the deadline, the next date that you have something that's due.
Well, technically, that would be sending out the assessment notices.
And that date,
That's the first Monday in June.
first Monday in June?
That's June 5th.
Okay, so that's going to be the first deadline. And at this point, you don't see any issues meeting that?
No, and we work with the Master's Touch on this. They're the ones who actually send out those notices. So we have to have that information to them like far in advance. So we're already sending that to them this week.
Okay.
So,
Okay, good.
yeah, and I'm balancing, just something that we do, we balance, before we send out all this, I'm balancing that today. And then we're already going to be generating all of that information to send to Master's Touch. We already started doing that yesterday, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
So they're going to get their stuff well in advance. We're working on the proofs, all of that stuff. So we're definitely, everything's right on schedule. No problems at all.
Okay. And is there anything in the mailings that we could include information-wise, just so that, to avoid I think the issues last year with BOE?
The slew.
Just to make sure people understand how the taxes work compared to their property valuations?
Yeah, so I think we've been preparing that. There's normally kind of like the thing that the assessor specifically will write and put in there. Bill and I have been working on that, and so we're trying to have it be as concise and helpful as possible. And we kind of looked at other assessors, what they send out, to the constituents and the people, and we're kind of trying to combine and see what we can do to exactly like you said. And I don't think anybody wants the number of appeals that we had last year.
Yeah.
So trust me, definitely on the same track there.
And just one other question. Are there any potential issues that could be looming? Because a lot of times, there's the things there's the things you think and then there's the things you don't know that can happen and can cause delays. And so, part of meeting deadlines is to kind of ask yourself, well, what could be an issue? But it doesn't seem like it's one now.
Yeah.
Is there a vendor that you're relying upon that makes that has to get these things done within a certain time?
Yeah. Thankfully, Master's Touch, they have been fantastic with us. I don't foresee there being any problems from them. When we just sent out, our end of the year notices, new construction, supplemental, all of that, we were really up to the deadline on that, and we made that. And we normally, the time frame that we have with Master's Touch, it's like a couple of weeks, so we can kind of go through, and then they have enough time to mail, post, all that stuff. We made it right up to the day of, and they're fantastic to work with. I could not say any more positive things about that. They're really great. So I don't really see there being any issues with Master's Touch. They work with, and when I was over here for the business meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we were kind of renewing the contract with Master's Touch. They work with 8 other, I think it's 8 other, I might be incorrect on that, but around 8 other assessors' offices in Idaho. So they definitely they're great to work with. They know what our deadlines are. They know what they need. We're really good, and we communicate with them on a daily basis.
And other software companies, there's no issues, potential delays? Okay.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any other problems. At least as far as assessment notices go, the only ones who would really be involved in that would be Master's Touch for, actually printing and sending those out. And then other than that, of course, there's Aumentum,
Yeah.
But nothing has changed with that. That's it's not like we say, Aumentum, do this for us. We do all of that in office. So I don't foresee there being any problems with that. That should be fine. And I think since we've, really been on track, so far, up until today, I don't foresee there being any issues with the notices. I really don't. Yeah.
Well, I think that you're right about our meeting recently. It was a very good meeting.
It was great.
And, I'd like to continue the collaboration so that just if anything, we can look at the problems the assessor's office is facing and try to come up with good solutions, even if we can't be productive in ideas from the BOCC side. At the very least, we can have a good handle on what your challenges are, because your success is our success, and that combined leads to the success for everybody. And so it's very important, at least to me personally, and I think I could speak for the rest of the board members, that we we'll do whatever we have to help you be successful. And it helps when we can collaborate. So thanks for doing that and the positive words about that.
No, of course, yeah, and I think, we're definitely, I very much so care about, everybody as a whole, like we kind of start the process, you know what I mean? It's notices, but then it's over to the treasurer, and then it's over to the clerk, so it's really, we have to be collaborative, so I'm definitely on the same page there.
Okay, well, good, thank you.
Okay, item 3, electronic notification system. Bruce?
Yes. Last week at our public hearing, there was something that kind of came to mind, and that's that, it has to do with notices and developing a way where our constituents can actually get notices about what's going on in the county. It was a little troubling, although I understand both sides on this, that there was a group of folks in a particular community that, according to them, they never got any notice of an event going on in their community as far as a development. And they said, some of them said they didn't get any mail. And I can tell you that the sheriff sent me a letter from his office to my office over by Schreiber Way, and it took 2 weeks to get over there. Right across the street from 95, 2 weeks. So I can believe when people say that they may not have gotten the mail. So I was thinking of, in this day and age, perhaps we could have a newsletter, an email subscriber list that constituents could sign up for. And every time a public notice went out, we would include an email to whoever wanted to get that.
We have that.
Well,
Because Tina is in charge of that. Every time there's a public meeting, you have your email subscriber list, right? Is that?
I have an email subscriber list. The Friday BOCC circulation,
Right.
but it doesn't have
No, we
everyone
can,
in the community on it. It just has.
right, and I don't think that's what he's saying. People need to be able to sign up for it, which they do for your notification. They
yeah,
sign
but
up
for
it.
community development?
Right, so we can extend that to community development. But
Yes.
it's already a model we have here.
Well, I think that something like that should be done for sure, because I don't get the sense that people are getting the word
Sure.
of what's going on. I understand for the BOCC, they can get notifications. But for community development, it just seems like something that we definitely want to make available.
Sure, that's not a problem.
They just have to create
Yeah.
a
It-
list in their Outlook and.
Yeah. So the only thing I would say, and we can work with community development on this, or you can, or Bill can, being the liaison, is that the stuff's available. So once the thing is posted, my understanding is people can go to the website and find that project once it's posted.
Well, they can go to the website, but there's a difference between people continuously going to websites every day
Sure.
versus getting a notification.
Right.
More
So
of a push notification.
Yes.
the thing I want to be aware of is that you will have people in the county who will respond to those notices even though they are nowhere near the project. So just being aware of it can increase staff time doing that. I'm not disagreeing with it. I think it's a great idea for somebody to sign up.
Well, if anything, they can get an email notice that something has been posted. But it's really the difference between you checking your bank account to make sure that the payment cleared versus
Right, getting the email notification.
that says that it cleared. And we're in that era now where it seems like we should be doing that, at least offering it.
I don't have a problem with it. Bill, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think anytime you start limiting notices or limiting access is a very bad thing. So the more we can, people who are not directly affected may have strong feelings about a particular issue and should be able to be noticed and heard if they want to.
Would you like me to work with community development on that?
Oh, I can do it.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Anything
Okay.
else on that? Okay, item 4 is an executive session, so I would take a motion for that.
I move that we enter executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061F.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Is there a motion?
I move that we exit executive session 1F to proceed as staff discussed.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Barker.
Aye. All right, public comment. Hearing none. It's 10:27, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.